What's up, guys? We're gonna Bro Beats. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys a special pattern you can use to make guitar melodies. If you guys haven't subbed already or turned post notifications on, you should do so because it does have it a lot. Let's hop right into it. So the BPM is 120. This is like the perfect BPM, but you can go to 125 to I think 115 might be too slow. Let's do 117, but 120, sweet spot. Okay. Now, these melodies are extremely easy to make, but a lot of people have trouble actually making them. So after this, you should be able to make these literally whenever you want. Okay. So let's go ahead, and we have this little Ample Sounds guitar up. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm gonna show you the pattern. All right, so there's two patterns. The first one is very easy. All you need to know is how to make a minor chord. So you can come up here to stamps and you can throw down a minor chord, right? But if you're a beginner, maybe I don't know why your DAW wouldn't have these labeled, but you know, whatever. So to make a minor chord, you just place a note, which would be a root note, and you skip 2 spaces. So 1, 2, and then you place a note, and then you skip 3 spaces after this note. So 1, 2, 3, and place. And you can see this lines up with the minor chord. Simple as that. And then if you're wondering about a major, you just move this middle one up so that the bottom is larger than the top. Simple as that. So we got our minor chord right there. The second pattern is our bass line. Now, bass lines are the only things you actually need to know to make any song you want. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the bass line for this. So basically, we start here. Well, I'm gonna just go up. So you just skip 1 note. You put 3 notes. So 1, you skip, place, skip, and place. And that is all you need for this, literally. And you just move them over like this. And let's just pull these out, pull this out. Let's play it. All right. So now from here, we pull these notes over because we already are using this one. Stretch these out. And then what we want to do is offset these. So the top one I'll offset about here, right here. And you can do these however you want, but I'm just giving you the generic pattern first, right? So you do this. And you just copy it over exactly. And then from here, you're good to go. You can save this as a MIDI, and every time you want to make like a guitar melody, you can just pull this in and you can just manipulate it, right? And don't worry about it sounding the same. It will not sound the same. Okay, trust me. As long as you are actually starting from this point and putting your own notes and maybe transposing, you can make these all day. Okay. So I'll just play it. So now what we're gonna do is animate it, and pretty much what that means is we're just gonna add notes and make it our own. All right. All right, so now we're gonna animate it. So you do need to know a little bit about scales, but not too much, okay? So just remember this pattern. If you just remember this pattern, right, you'll be fine. But that may be confusing to some people. So what you could do to make it sound good is use the mid note, copy it, and place it up an octave. And then from here, you can kind of use this range to kind of pick notes. So if you don't know like the D sharp or the minor scale, you can kind of just click around notes and see what you like, right? So, but I'm gonna show you what's actually behind here. So let's grab in a scale so y'all can actually see what I'm seeing if you don't know these scales. So basically, these are the notes you want to use, right, for your range. And you can use any of these. So what we could do is actually make a minor chord from here, right? Because we want to keep it a little bit dark. And then you can kind of use these notes, and we can just offset some of these, do something like that, right? And this is where you make it your own. And then we could just maybe use this G sharp, and then maybe pull this back in. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, sounded pretty good. So now on the other side, we don't want to copy it exactly, right? So we just want to kind of finish it so it's a loop, a good loop. So I'm gonna bring this over, and at this point, you're just kind of placing notes where you want them. I'm just kind of doing generic stuff just to kind of just show you. And let's pull this over, maybe something like that. And let's use this D sharp, our root. If you look at this pattern here, these will connect. Okay, so then let's offset this. And then what I like to do, because you see these two are exactly playing at the same time, like to offset it, so hold shift and drag your mouse wheel a little bit just to offset it. All right, so now let's play it. All right, sounds pretty good to me. So let's move on and add some variation on the other side. Now this is our variation. So let's just copy this over just like that. And then I'm gonna choose a slightly different color so you know what is variation. So to connect these, what I'm gonna do is place another root note here, because if you see these are kind of connected. You don't have to use a root note. I'm gonna just use a root note just because I know it'll work. Let's change this. Okay. And you can start adding notes. So you can add the A sharp up here. Okay, and then let's offset it a bit. And then we just have a little bit of fun with this. Let's use a thirds real quick. Let's do a thirds grid. All right, let's see what that sounds like. And we don't need to add any more. I think that's good enough. All right, so listen to it one more time fully. All right, I think that sounds good. So let's go ahead and move on to our second guitar. All right, so I went ahead and took the scale out because we don't really need it now. Okay, now I have a second guitar. You don't need a second guitar, but I just like to add one so we can add like some different stuff. So we can just put in some notes. So I'm gonna just maybe do like a simple pattern. Right, and when we add these in here, it kind of gives a little bit of bounce when you do stuff like this. So, and I'm gonna just copy this over just so we can have like a complete pattern. And let's see what this sounds like. All right, so I think that's good enough for this. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just show you some effects you can throw on, or at least the type of effects you can throw on to these to make them sound a little bit better. All right, so quickly, I'm gonna just go over some effects you can use. So basically just put your guitar 1 and 2 on channel 1 and 2, and then you wanna control, click and drag onto your third channel. And this should be your like bus channel. Right click, track routing, route select to track only, and these should be routed here. All right, so real quick, what I like to do is my main guitar, I like to pan it to the left slightly. Okay, like even 6% is good enough. And then over this side, I like to double it. So 6%, we can go to like 12%. And I even might do a little bit more. And that is just because these are in the same range. If you remember, these are kind of in the same range. So I want this to stand out a little bit more. So I just pan it so you can hear it a little bit better. So the effects, this is pretty much just a delay. I just want to try this plugin out, but you can just use any delay, right? And it's very faint. And then we have RC20. You can copy these effects if you want, screenshot it, whatever you want to do. It's just a custom preset. And then we have slight reverb, and it's just to add some air so it's not so dry. 5% mix, right? And that's just a combo you can use in this order though, in this order. I'm gonna play it. All right, so those are the effects. So now let's move on and kind of finish out the rest of the melody. All right, so now we're just gonna go ahead and kind of create a like verse part and just fill this up. So I'm gonna copy this main melody onto this, and I have Serum, and it's just a custom preset. Okay, just kind of like a quick little bell. So let's go here, and I'm gonna just pull this down an octave, and then make sure everything is the same. Okay, so now I'm gonna mute these and play it. All right, so there's that. So let's move on to arcade next. All right, so next we have arcade distant voices, and this is just to add some like vocals to it, but I don't want anything up front, just some in the background, right? So I'm just putting in key and just try to find some real quick. I don't want to overdo this, so let's just start. I kind of like this one. And again, I don't even want it to be that noticeable, just to add some like reverb to it. Then let's maybe do like this. Okay, I can work with that. All right, so now let's move on to, I think this is a flute. Next up, we have a flute. Now this is pretty easy. People like to overcomplicate this, so I'm gonna give you another thing you can do. All right, so at this point, people are like, oh, I'm gonna just place whatever I want, which works. But if you're someone where you're like, okay, I don't know what notes to use next, just use the chords you already have. So you have this D sharp minor, and then you have this A sharp minor, okay? So you can start with one of these, and I'm gonna just use this one because we don't really have much here, okay? And you can just play around with the rhythm. So we can maybe make these a little bit smaller. Let's do a little flam right here. Okay, I like that. So I'm gonna move over, and now we can just change it up. So let's do like a little tap. And let's move this down one so it matches up here, and then we can come back to this A sharp. Okay, so that's good enough for the flute. Let's move on to our bass. Okay, so here's the bass I'm using, and this is gonna be pretty easy. So you can just follow the bass pattern, but what I like to do is just leave one note out in the beginning. So we could do something like this. Instead of doing this, we could just leave this one in, and it'll create a lot of bounce. And then we can copy this over and then add that in. And I think this might be a good. All right, I'm gonna play it with the actual guitar now. All right, so that is the melody. So now what I'm gonna do is just pretty much add the 808 in the drum so I can have an outro beat. All right. All right, so let's just add the 808 in the kick real quick. So I'm gonna just copy this over down here, and then Shift D. And then what we could do is just make sure these are in the areas where the 808 would be. So right here, and then maybe like right here. We just copy this over. Put the velocity up, and then I'm gonna just add a little bounce right here. All right, and then for the kick, well, I guess we could just do the drums all together. So let's just go ahead and just add our little kick. And I don't want this to be over too much. This is just for an outro beat. I'm not trying to like make it super special. Let's pull these up. And then what do we have here? I'm just copy this over. Again, not trying to do too much, just something. Let's see. So I had like one of these somewhere. All right, so now we can play it with the actual, what do you call it, the guitars. And then I want to hear with the flute and stuff. All right, so now we can hear all this. All right, so that's enough. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.